We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you. And we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Next up, Trump's speech.
You want me to handle this one?
Yes.
All right. I'll do the hardcore political thing. But actually, this story is in some sense not really about politics. It's about the thing that I think the three of us really focus on perhaps more than politics, which is kind of media and free speech, because there's something super interesting here beyond the specifics. But the specifics are that Donald Trump is now threatening to sue the BBC over a documentary that they released around the January 6th events, where they selectively edited a portion of his speech that day when people were about to march to the Capitol. So let's first show you the portion of the speech that they edited, and then we will show you the unedited. So this is the edited version that was in the BBC documentary.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you. And we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
All right, so that sounds pretty scary. We're going to march down there. I'll be with you. We're going to fight like hell. We're going to lose the country, blah, blah, blah. Note the line that they cut. Here's the unedited version.
It is up to Congress to confront this egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them. But I said, something's wrong here. Something's really wrong. Can't have happened. And we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. Our exciting adventures and boldest endeavors have not yet begun.
All right, so obviously the key part of what they cut out is we're going to go and cheer on our senators and congressmen. And what he's talking about are the senators and congressmen who he thought maybe weren't going to vote, weren't going to ratify the election. Now, putting aside everything related to election stuff for just a second, when I saw this story, obviously I was deeply unsurprised. Like, this is consistent with, from very fine people to COVID hoaxes and all the other stuff we always talk about. So I'm not surprised by any of that. I think what has actually surprised me here is that there is a massive reckoning now happening at the BBC, the CEO and multiple other executives. These are executives at the BBC, not just people that were directly involved with the film. They have now stepped down. Drew, I am shocked. We never get a mea culpa. We never get a buck stops with me, and we're actually kind of getting it. What is going on here?
I'm not sure it's the buck stops with me, because the same people and some of the people around them were saying, yeah, but we are objective at the BBC. We have no bias at the BBC. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, we made a mistake here, but we have no bias. This is the insanity of press right now, where they live in such an insulated culture where they don't see how biased they are. It's actually what fascinates me. What I want a documentary about is what's going on at CBS News. What's going on with Barry Weiss in there? Are they awakening? Are they fighting and incapable of changing? Is the cognitive dissonance so severe that people are just quitting? But I agree with you. There is reckoning happening for the first time, even though I don't really trust the reckoning. Let's put it that way.
Interestingly, so the CEO of BBC stepped down, but then she was interviewed right after on the street, and she goes, I've stepped down because the buck stops with me, but there is no systemic bias at the BBC.
Exactly.
I stepped down over the weekend because the buck stops with me. But I'd like to make one thing very clear. BBC News is not institutionally biased. That's why it's the world's most trusted news provider.
Why did you fail to deal with the mistakes that were made?
And see my teams. Thank you so much.
Right, do you think that the journalists are corrupt like President Trump says? Do you think the journalists
are corrupt? Of course our journalists aren't corrupt. Our journalists are hard-working people who strive for impartiality, and I will stand by their journalism.
Is there institutional bias at the BBC?
There is no institutional bias. Mistakes are made, but there's no institutional bias.
Which that's to your point. So it's sort of absurd because you're stepping down proves the systemic bias because you're up here, right? So all the documentary people are somewhere over here doing their thing. You would never step down unless the bias had reached over to your, sort of your world, right? You are the head of the thing. If it wasn't systemic, you would just fire the director of the film and say, boy, you really duped us. What do you think, Jillian?
Two things. One, I've seen the video of the British journalist who unveils this, right? And to be honest, those two bites, I didn't perceive them to be that close together. So I think this is worse than it appears. He fast forwarded when Trump says we're going to go down, we're going to celebrate Congress, blah, blah, blah. And there's like he plays fast forward all the way. It goes on for like 30 seconds of fast forwarding and we fight like hell, which is totally unrelated to what he was saying in the previous part. They weren't even, from what I took away from it, they weren't even that close together.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting.
So I wish we could, you know what, maybe the team can find it and pop it in here. It's a British journalist and he literally fast forwards and it seems like it goes on for quite a minute there to that part of the speech. They're far apart.
It wasn't until nearly an hour later that he then said the second part of the BBC's version.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol and we fight. We fight like hell.
Having said that, what I also find alarming is that the BBC is not privately owned. This is government funded with tax dollars. So it's literal propaganda. And I give my mother-in-law credit for this, who is very conservative. And she goes, this is election interference. This is another government interfering in our elections. And I really thought about it for a minute. This isn't China. This isn't Russia. This is the UK utilizing a government-funded news organization to create propaganda that arguably would have put Trump in jail. And he would not have been our president. Like, there's some truth to that. It's pretty upsetting, actually.
Well, think about it this way. Was it, 1 day later, 2 days later, that Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whatever, I'm not sure which other sites, all nuked him at the same time?
That's right.
He was the sitting president of the United States. And you definitely can argue because of the way that probably, I can't confirm this off the top of my head, but probably from the coverage that CNN and other organizations gave it, that gave them enough of a room to do it. And, interestingly, a couple of years ago, you remember when Alex Jones got kicked off of everything, like within 24 hours, I happened to have Peter Thiel at my house that day to do the show. And we didn't discuss this on air, but I know now he would be fine with me talking about it. But I asked him off camera, I said, what do you think happened here? And what he said is they're all equal cowards in essence. So it's not that it's coordination like the head of CBS calls the head of Twitter and that they all get on the phone, but everyone's waiting for the first mover. And when the first mover moves, then everyone else moves. So it's not as if Jack Dorsey at the time, Twitter CEO, got on the phone with Susan Wojcicki over at YouTube and said, let's all do this in like the grand conspiracy sense. But
I don't believe it.
Wait.
I don't believe it, D.
That's
you
interesting.
You got called by Elon Musk to expose the Twitter files. That was a coordinated effort by the Biden administration to silence dissenters. You don't think this is coordinated?
That was a different phase in all this.
Yes. That was a different
game plan. Playbook. Same playbook.
Well, so that's a fair point, Jillian. So my guess is, first off, it was a slightly different phase in all of it, but also my guess is multiple things happen in different ways throughout. It's sort of like what we've all talked about with COVID all the time, that, kind of everyone was over their skis. They're making it up along the way and some version of that. So I think it was probably some of that. Elon finds out all of this information. The administration kind of admits they've been coordinating with big tech. Were calls made, were dinners had in DC, but does it prove like the grand conspiracy of someone drawing it all out here and we've got it perfectly? Probably not. It's just like I don't even, what would you call that, Drew? It's just like a coordinated mess or something.